Alrighty. So today we are sitting down to plug another movie into the one-shot review system. And the movie that we went and saw today was Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses for a 20th anniversary screening through Fathom Events at a Regal Theaters, not AMC this time. And by the way, AMC, you are slacking because the fact that I can go see all these Fathom events at Regal, the fact that their subscription is less money, the only thing you have on your side right now is the fact that I don't have to park in a parking garage to go to your movie theater. But that is another thing for another day when I do some sort of AMC versus Regal type video. Now they've been spending so much time in the theaters, but let's get into it. Today I had some popcorn with some butter, as you can possibly see, as well as I had a Pepsi Icy instead of a Coke one, which was a treat, and I didn't have to deal with the dumbass Coke Freestyle machine. So, with that being said, like I said, the movie that we saw today was Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses, and man, this movie was disturbing. First of all, let me just say that at the beginning of the movie, beforehand, they had another nice tribute from somebody involved with the movie, that being Rob Zombie himself, giving something before the screening. And I just gotta say, I don't care if it's corny, that stuff is awesome. I wish that we had more of that before movies, because I think it's easier when the movie's already solidified as like a cult classic or a blockbuster hit before, I think that it's easier to have this sort of video before because it kind of cements the reason for it. Whereas if you had it for every movie, that'd be kind of silly, because what if the movie's a great stinker and somebody waxes poetically about how much effort was put into making it beforehand, or what, the whole point of it was, or something like that, That being said, for this movie, it was kind of cool. He basically talked about the fact that this movie had been shopped around after it had been filmed for multiple years before somebody would pick it up. And after seeing it, I'm not surprised why. Not because the movie's bad, but because, dude, when I say that this movie is disturbing, it's absolutely disturbing. Like, I could see it up on the iceberg of, like, gore-filled, disturbing movies to watch. It's probably not the worst one you could possibly see, but it was certainly worse than I even expected it to be, even though it was also very funny. What can I say about this movie? So it follows the tale of four individuals who are trying to drive across the country to look at and document all these different roadside attractions and make a book about it, and they somehow wind their way into, I believe, Mr. Spaulding is the name of it, but his House of Horror museum, and they go through the murder ride where they're mentioned the legend of Dr. Satan, and that leads them to then try to find the tree that Dr. Satan was hung from, and that kind of starts this entire thing where somebody in the bushes shoots out the tire of their car and then abducts them, takes them to the, basically, they try to help them, some trickery, and takes them to a house nearby out in the sticks where the movie sort of begins to ensue. And for the most part, I can just say that, if you're not trying to be spoiled by this movie, it's 20 years old, so I'm sorry. But, the one thing that's just so jarring about this movie is that there is no happy ending whatsoever. All four of our individuals got brutally messed with and killed at some point in the movie by multiple people inside this house, which involve a young girl, sort of this older neo-Nazi type dude, somebody who had his whole body caught on fire and he doesn't speak or hear anything, but he wears a mask. This old guy who's a comedian but also is messed up in the head, and same thing with this older girl who's very messed up in the head, as well as many other people we come to find out help in the aiding and killing of all the people that end up at this house. And dude, I mean, I honestly think there's no point for me to go into any deep specifics about it, because that should be enough to kind of tell you whether or not you'd want to see the movie, and the aspects that I want to talk about the movie don't really have anything to do with that aspect of it. So for one thing, I just want to say, even though I was deeply internally disturbed by this movie, I am becoming desensitized to this sort of thing from watching all these movies this month. But it was still a good movie. Like, don't get me wrong. If you know what you're walking into, you may very much like this movie. And I can see now why people online, when they're talking about Rob Zombie as a movie creator, everybody says that he's like the perfect guy that nails the aesthetic of whatever genre of horror he's trying to play in, but maybe he isn't the best at putting together all the rest of the pieces. That being said, in this movie, I think they had enough time where they spent these 3 years editing it and stuff like that while they couldn't get it sold. I really do think this movie probably couldn't have been any better than it was today. And, I would not say that he was lacking in like the other qualities of being a film creator with this movie specifically. But he nails the aesthetic. I mean, the whole movie does a lot of different things that you don't normally see in movies, whether it be he's messing around with the filters on the film, or he's randomly switching to a different style of film, or he's inserting these like very distorted images that are showing what's actually happening, but they almost feel like an aside. All that stuff was very cool. And if the goal was to make a movie that was as absolutely forked as possible, I mean, he nailed it. All these people that are supposed to be psychotic seem genuinely messed up in the head. And from the very beginning, you can just tell what type of, villain they're going to be, and they play into that role so well. Not to mention, the second that you find out about any of these characters, they just immediately throw in the fact that these 5 teenagers that were missing, they were cheerleaders who went to also go investigate this sort of fairy tale about Dr. Satan. They're just upstairs while the crew that we're acquainted with are eating dinner and trying to figure out if the rest of these people are just as villainous. The one dude upstairs who seems to be the ringleader of everybody is just, they just let it right out at the beginning. Like, no, all of these people are crazy and the people in this situation are screwed. And then, dude, oh my gosh, to think about how almost like, in a way, even though the movie is kind of fantastical with how everybody plays into their personality so heavily, and then there is almost like a sickening amount of like the way that they portray nudity in this film it's weird. It's almost like they're playing into that like dark devilish sort of archetype of a person, where it's like this serial killer type of person in mind is like willing to kill people. They don't have respect for like human body, and there's human body mutilation going on in this movie and stuff like that. It's just absolutely screwed. And the thing is, it fits the personalities of the people that we have in this movie. So, like I'm saying, like the movie is insanely disturbed, and it is really not that bad as far as like you're not gonna like absolutely lose your mind watching this movie, but it's just like once it grabs you for this ride of like, oh my god, please, not another thing, like it never lets you off. And I kind of have to commend them for that. And then another thing about this movie is that they even have like this part where the sheriff and his deputy and an old cop who is the father of one of the girls that's involved in our pack of 4 people. And dude, oh my god. They even have a scene where like they find the house, they're there, and every single one of them just gets killed in the most predictable way. And it's out in the middle of nowhere, so nobody knows about it. and the one guy has a tow truck, so he's going to take the car, the police car, and just take it to a chop shop or something, and it's never coming back. Let alone for the fact that at one point in the film, the main bad guy wears the father's skin as a costume for Halloween, and then goes and tries to kiss the daughter while that's going on. That was absolutely messed up. So anyway, I don't have a lot more to say about this movie. I think I've conveyed the way I feel about it. I would say, and I know I always say this, but I would say if this movie sounds like something that would be fun to you to watch, then you should absolutely go see it in theaters. And you will have, if you catch this video on the day that I'm uploading it, an opportunity to see it on Wednesday, October, I think it's 11th, at anywhere where they're having these Fathom events. It looks like that's Regal and Cinemark. Like, definitely go see it if you're into these type of messed up horror movies type of thing. Like, I can definitely see why this is a cult classic movie, why this is so loved by people that are into that kind of stuff. Like, the people that always work at the different haunted mazes and stuff every year as like their side gig. Like, they obviously, you can obviously see why they love this movie, right? And, if you're into a similar type of thing, absolutely go see this movie in theaters. If you are on the fence and you only kind of like horror movies and you've seen stuff like maybe The Conjuring or The Nun or whatever, like that sort of type of horror movie, absolutely stay away from this one. This is not for you. This is for other people. Watch this at home if you want to watch it, but that'll give you the ability to not spend $14 on a ticket and want to walk out. But for me, I honestly would have not really found myself in somebody that likes horror movies if you'd have asked me about a month ago. But I think they're starting to grow on me, and I'm becoming less and less like disturbed to the point of not wanting to watch at things that are just simply, I can dispel in my head as like, oh, okay, well, this is a movie, so it's okay that this gore is happening, whatever, right? So maybe I will end up watching the Saw films, and, apparently I disagree with the rest of the world on Saw X, but whatever. So anyway, like I said, if you have the chance to go see this movie, go see House of a Thousand Corpses in theaters. I really enjoy the little 3-minute thing they did before the movie. I think you would enjoy it. I'm pretty sure that they might have some sort of special stuff going on after the movie, but me personally, I kind of wanted to go home because it's a little bit late at night now. And I just saw that movie, and so I didn't stay to see that after the credits rolled. As I'm plugging this movie into the system out of 5, I think as a movie on its own, like, see, it's tough because if I try to look at it from the perspective of, does this movie achieve the aim that it went for artistically, and that being to kind of like have this touchstone lexicon movie that perfectly encapsulates the aesthetic of somebody like Rob Zombie, then I mean, even though I think there are tons of people that absolutely hate this movie, I have to give this movie a low 4 or even like a solid 4, just because I just think it's so unique in what it is, even if it is so crazy. And I think that anybody that really likes film, and especially horror films, would be remiss if they did not see this movie. So, with that being said, that is the review for the obviously disturbing Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. And I will catch you guys on the next review. Subscribe to the channel if you feel like it if you feel like it. If you dislike it, leave a comment as to why. And that's the end of the video. See you guys on the next one.